Nipun Mehta as well joins in to talk about which way the market is headed. Nipun, does it seem like at least this week you aren't going to see any big bang move from the market, it being such a truncated week and key events like the credit policy, the Q4 numbers as well slated ahead?
Sure, I think this week could be a muted movement. We've seen a fair amount of volatility coming in out of all the uncertainty that was created by some of the announcements that were there and or the derivative expiry that was there. But I think this week, yes, being a curtailed week, should see limited volatility. You have started, the week started with positive news as far as the auto industry is concerned, at least as far as the March figures are concerned, which were to a degree better than expected. So you definitely could see, yes, lower volatility. I think what the markets again will wait for is the start of the results and any guidance that starts coming in from various industries that could be there. If you look at the tax figures that had been there, where you're not likely to see again too many surprises as far as a lot of industry segments are concerned. So that again ensures that there might be limited volatility coming in before all the announcements, whether it is RBI or the results starts coming in.
Nipun, what about the auto pack? Again, we've seen strong numbers coming in from the big boys like Tata Motors and M&M, but I guess March was expected to be a bumper month. What's your outlook on the auto sector going forward?
Well, positive for sure, but we must understand the March figures that generally the March figures are high for most auto companies every year. Secondly, this year particularly because there were excise duty hikes and in Maharashtra there was a tax hike for cars, motor cars, for particular segments, 2% and 4%, because of which you really saw enhanced figures coming in for a lot of the car vehicle manufacturers. Even as far as SUVs are concerned, you saw higher figures for Mahindra because of new launches that were there. So it was an unusual month. It was a month with higher figures. I think April will, or the first quarter will definitely not keep pace with what you've seen in March. But I think for the year, you could see, again, figures coming up as far as the auto segment is concerned. So we're positive on the auto segment, whether you take two-wheelers or four-wheelers. The interest rates have been fairly stable. That has been another positive as far as the segment is concerned. So except maybe for an April month, which could be a little muted for the entire segment, I think for the quarter as well as for the year, you could see positive movements coming in for the auto pack.
Nipun, you want to comment on the power stocks as well, because, you know, they did see a bit of a brief rally on the back of assurance from Coal India as far as fuel supply is concerned. Now there's a huge question mark on that as well. How would you, look at the power pack in general?
Well, I would really not look at it based on specific announcements. Even when the coal linkage announcement had come in from the government, I remember very distinctly mentioning that there are several issues as far as the power sector is concerned. Not just is the fact that there's a huge amount of gestation in terms of actual implementation of projects, but several issues in terms of returns that are specified by the government, and or the fact that there are several leakages that are there. So I think the power pack, based on these kind of specific announcements, does take a particular direction upwards whenever these kind of positive announcements come in. But I think one must understand that there are several variables which are not defined by the companies or the sector themselves. The fact remains that there is a huge gap as far as government spending on the power sector is concerned, and that really clearly ensures that as and when there is this announcement, you really see an upward move that is there. But I would really take a longish term view as far as power sector is concerned.
Nipun, what is it that you like amongst rate sensitives? We've already chatted about auto, but what about banks?
Well, I do like banks. I think enough and more has been really said about banks, but I would really continue to say that even if one were to look at the March quarter results, if one were to go partly by what the advanced tax figures were, you could see a continuation of performance by the entire banking sector. There could be some higher provisioning by some of these public sector banks, or to some degree even some of the smaller private sector banks on either on the aviation or on power sector. to some extent maybe even on the real estate segment. But I think the performance in terms of consistency would continue, except for some of these exceptions that you could see. So not just the March quarter, but even subsequently, we've seen fairly robust NIMs, and that will continue even as far as 12-13 is concerned. So both the stronger private sector banks and the larger public sector banks can be relied upon for consistent results. There could be inconsistency as far as the mid-sized public sector banks are concerned.